Elliot here, and my topic today will be about how I believe that graffiti should be legal in public places. Now, a little backstory on graffiti. Graffiti has been practiced for. There's instances of the Greeks using graffiti, and modern graffiti, as we know it in America, kind of started in the 1920s on in like railway stations, on boxcars, and on buildings and stuff. And it's an art form in and of itself because it is directly talking with the audience, and it is questioning where art should be, and that's very cool. Now, a problem that we have nowadays is that we have, first of all, a lot of depression. Depression affects more than 15 million American adults every year. That's about 6.6% of the U.S. population. That is from the Anxiety Association and Depression of America. So a lot of people are depressed, and one way that you can fight depression is artistic expression and cathartic release, which can be triggered by the use of art, in this case, graffiti. So in a study by Christopher Langston, it was found that individuals share positive events to capitalize on the positive emotions they elicit, and the reminiscing the positive experiences augment positive effects like temporary mood and longer-term well-being. So people that express themselves have just an overall well-being and elevated mood than people who don't. I mean, that's pretty obvious. And so firstly, there's a cathartic release. Second, there's a lot of unused public space that is currently gray, just kind of gray drab walls, and this reflects with people who live in cities, where this is a 2005 study of the National Institute of Health, where people who live in cities are 21% more likely to have an anxiety disorder than people who do not live in cities. And this was, the researchers made the conclusion that it was because of the urban environment. Whether or not that's exactly the drab walls or not, you can argue that, but it's kind of correlated. And so graffiti would allow people to change the environment around them to be less detrimental to themselves, but also more vibrant, and they'd allow it to put their personality on the environment around them. In that, if you go on the subway every day, and you'd be able to practice art in a public place, and you'd be able to show off your art, and other people could show off their art, and it would be kind of a public and communal display of art in which everybody is working together to create this kind of public mural. And this would help people become more community oriented in a modern world where people are becoming increasingly disconnected from other people without the internet. In that the internet is people lose track of the people directly in their vicinity because most of your friends that you talk to on a daily basis, or your work or anything, you just do it on the internet instead of spending time with the people directly around you. And so it builds community. So it allows people to get better at a skill that is inherently expressive, and obviously that's just very good that people would be able to start putting time into an art form and get better at it and be able to express themselves better, because I don't think you can ever get enough of that. Now, you could bring up the problem with public graffiti, that people would draw lewd images, and that this would be a problem. But you would eventually, people who drew lewd images, other people would graffiti over those, because the public graffiti would reflect the community, and people would not want to publicly have their community represented in such a lewd way. Also, if it's so easy to draw lewd images, people will have to become more creative in developing lewd images, because it would not be fun to just keep on drawing penises. If everybody did that, then people would want to have their own kind of lewd image that reflected who they were. And so it would become more personalized, and people would strive to create would become more creative in developing their own lewd image. And so this is back to catharsis. So in Heather L. Stuckey, is the U.S. National Library of Medicine, found that patients after 6 months of, so these are cancer patients, that after 6 months of participating in art and in creative art form, and patients showed significant improvement of weight, gaining weight, serum carbon dioxide content higher, I guess, higher phosphate levels, and a trend toward reduced levels of depression in the cancer patients. So most of it is the ability to have an output and access catharsis for people who would normally not have an outlet, and having people be able to in a communal space be able to share their outlet and create art with other people, I think would be a very good way to build community and have people become healthier, more creative, and less depressed and mentally healthier. So that's why I believe that graffiti should be legal in public places.